We're going to call our meeting back to order for Tuesday, March 2nd, the Planning Commission, the County Comprehensive Plan Review. I do want to thank all the commissioners for the wonderful conversation we had this morning. I think it was very productive, and it was quite encouraging that we were all basically on the same page almost. I do want to welcome Megan Weaver. She's in the audience. She's our new member to the Planning Commission. Welcome, Megan, for being here, and we appreciate that. Today we're going to jump right into our, if we can do this in 26.2 minutes each, we can be done by 5 o'clock. So somebody needs to time.
We would like to kind of just resolve our future land use and just talk about the future land use maps if we can.
Okay. We don't want to go right into our transportation element?
It was one of the things that we have to, since we're talking about future land use, we'd like to just get the map portion knocked out if we can.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Tiefen?
I do want to remind everybody to please speak into the microphone. I'm going to get waved at if you don't, and nerfed.
Thank you, Mr. Troiano.
Now, why are you Joey, you can't see.
I got one in my book, don't worry about it. I know what it says.
We know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Jim, could I have a copy of that, either that size or bigger?
Give you that copy when we're done if you like it.
I want to put it in my office on the wall.
It would be nice for everyone to have that.
We do have these electronically, Mr. Chair, for everybody that's in your packet.
Okay.
But if someone needs a larger map like that, after we make our changes, we'll certainly be able to provide that to the commissioners.
Thank you. Are you going to do this on, are you going to log in and put this on our screen?
I can, yes, sir.
Do want to remind the commissioners there's drinks and snacks back there in the back, and for anybody who wants anything, go back there and help themselves.
Jim, can you shoot me an email with this by PDF so I can look at it on my Chromebook?
This one, sir?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
all right.
Let me just make sure it's not here. I just have to find it real quick. Okay. So if you go to your packets or to the documents that you do have, it would be on page 128 is the first map that we will come to. Brian, you want to just go to the maps themselves?
Yes, sir.
So page 128, it would be obviously the northwest portion of our county. Mr. Rawls, that should be in your packet. And we'll be referring to this area up here.
You say you've already mailed it?
Yes, sir. That's what Nancy sent to you.
128.
I know that she said she.
Okay. But you're, okay.
I got you.
Jim, I'm having a hard time finding 128.
Right.
They're not
Commissioner,
numbered.
it's on the map now. It's in your screens in
Under the
front of you.
last tab are the maps, just before they get into this section where the actual future land use
Okay,
element is. It's
okay.
on the last tab.
It's right before the data and analysis.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, it's in front of you now on your computer screen. I've got it up.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I looked at these and I agree with all the changes the planning commission's already made. The only question I had really on the maps was, on all the maps, was there's several sections that I found on there that were public use. For instance, on the map for the East Palaca, Putnam County area, it didn't show the fire station. The best I could tell, it didn't show that one, it didn't show the post office as public. Right across from the public facilities, which is the old community center property. Across the street on the corner right there is the post office, I believe. Wouldn't that be under public facilities land use?
On Lewisboro Road.
Ms. Roberts, you can answer that.
No.
On the corner of West McCormick Road and Lewis Brewer Road, isn't the post office right there for East Palaca?
There is.
So that would be, that should be under public facilities land use, shouldn't it?
It could be, but it may
I
not
don't
be today.
really care, I'm
Yeah.
just wondering if it should or not.
Could it be privately held and the post office leases it?
Yeah, I mean,
That's a possibility.
But it would still be a public facility, wouldn't it, or not?
but
Jim,
but
what-
I don't
what
know
page
that
number
the
is it on the
future land
PDF?
use,
Okay.
I'm sorry?
What page number on the PDF is it?
131.
Okay. Makes it easier. There it is. All right. I'm there.
So how do we determine that if it's
Well,
privately owned?
If it doesn't really matter for land use, and I don't really care, Mike, if you tell
Right.
me that, I mean.
yeah, I mean, because if
What are
you
we
look
calling
at the definitions in the individual land use categories, we allow different use, so it really.
Okay, so it doesn't really
It
matter
really,
what
yeah,
you're telling me?
it's
Okay,
an
good.
allowable use within that category, whatever category it's in.
In the State Road Corridor, which is the one before that one, Jim, East Plaga Fire Station's in there somewhere. Do we need to mark that or does it really matter?
I don't believe it matters, but you could, either way, if you wanted to do
Doesn't matter,
that.
I don't wanna do things just to be spinning our wheels. I mean, if you don't think it really matters, then I'm
I
good
don't
with
think
it.
I don't think it matters.
So
I
we
think
don't
it's
need to
okay.
really, for future land
Yeah.
use, start identifying small properties like that, just try to keep the area what we want
Yeah.
in general, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. Other than that, I think the planning commission did a very good job on the changes, that were on the, map.
I agree.
As far as the, moving some of the densities out to the areas where they did and whatever, I think that was excellent. So I don't have any other issues with the maps.
Mr. Chair, just if I may, Mr. Teepler or Mr. Brown, do we need to make any presentation to the board on our maps other than what's been presented, rather than for adoption?
No, I don't believe so unless I mean, I was certainly prepared to go through them, but if they've reviewed them and have no questions, I'm good with that.
Good. Ms. Roberts, you have anything you want to highlight?
No,
Commissioners?
I think that what we did is in keeping with what we should do. And I think we always can make changes down the road. So I think with the maps right now, we're focusing on areas where infrastructure's in place or where there's a genuine need to make changes in classification of the land. So, no, I think we're fine with these. We went over them quite thoroughly.
Looks like you did.
Yeah, and some of the, if I may, Mr. Chairman, some of the areas have already had densities adjusted for them. I noticed all that, and the different corridors and out west Putnam and up on 17, y'all did some work up in there a little bit too. So, you know, I actually studied this pretty close, and I just don't see where I have any changes to it at all. I think the planning commission did an excellent idea with it.
I agree.
All right, Mr. Chair, if that's the case and the
Commissioners,
consensus
any
of the
other-
board, we'll just move from our land map changes
Hang
to,
on just a minute. Commissioners, any other questions on the maps?
I'm good for right now.
Okay, we're good.
We're
I
not
just
looking
have a
to
couple
adopt
questions
these.
to clarify for me, is, on the State Road 207 corridor, I guess
Hold
the
on a
two
second.
sides there, Ag 1 to US. Is that-
Reserve.
Is that
Urban
urban
service.
Service.
The reasoning there?
Because
And then,
we
and
think
also on the next page, it's CR to urban service.
usually it's because services are now available there that weren't available before, such as water and
Water and
sewer.
sewage, okay.
Yeah,
Could
what
be.
isn't there is probably gonna be there in the not too distant future, so that's why that was changed.
I think that was well said.
Remember, the urban service basically allows both commercial and residential.
Residential.
Both, so, I mean,
And land
particularly that second part, a lot of that commercial going to urban service, a lot of that is residential today, been built out as residential. And if something happens to those, a fire or something, it needs, before they can rebuild, they need to become consistent with the comp plan. So that was one of my personal desires to get that area changed, because I feared having people come in who've living in residential units today and something happens and it's commercial, so they couldn't rebuild.
You know, in all fairness, that's where it's going anyhow. At some point, that's gonna spill over into us from St. John's, we all know that.
Yeah.
Already started.
We, kinda like, when I was on the planning commission many years ago, John Turner was on there with me, he was a local surveyor. And he said, if you want to, know where to put stuff for absolutely real, do use the sidewalk theory. Build a school, don't put the sidewalks in, and wherever there's a path at the end of the first year, build a sidewalk there, and that's where you put it. And that's the only other way you can do it, other than give it your best guess, is use the sidewalk theory, and evidently we can't here.
Commissioner Pickens, did that answer
Okay.
your question?
Yeah, and then the last one was RR to future land use on down Buffalo Bluff, but it went from rural residential to conservation.
Yeah, that's all Water Management District property.
Okay. That's it.
All right, good. So now we're going to start the transportation.
We are, just so the board knows and for the
I do
members of
have-
the public,
Hang on a minute.
it's in our packet, all this maps, so,
I got it.
and we'll be able to provide any maps additionally to the board.
Commissioner Rawls has a question for you.
How does solar affect, what is solar, what is the requirement for a solar farm?
Well, we were looking at doing them all in PUDs, and that's what we've done
Okay.
for the
All
four
right.
that
Yeah.
we've moved forward with.
The comp plan before, and even with, hasn't been proposed changes, requires any solar or wind power facility to be done under a PUD zoning.
Okay,
So, but they're allowed in the agricultural future land use.
so that's what I'm talking about as far as, okay, because you're, I was contacted by FPL regarding a 700-acre tract, and none of that land use, I believe it's all Ag 2, which will now be Ag 1, so it's allowed in that?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
All right, let's start with the transportation element. Page 1.
Mr. Chair, there's your transportation element. Mike, do you want to just give a brief overview?
Can I ask one more question real quick?
Oh.
Not to be a pain. So, once the future land use maps, once we agree to these, how long would it take to get them updated? Because I have a copy of the old ones, which were of some value, but I would like one, a land use map for each district.
Yeah, it's GIS.
If I could get one for each district, to put in my office like I have now, but how long would it take for us to get the new ones, is my question?
Just with GIS, taking the changes that we provide to them, making that, data change in the set, much like they did here, they will provide the maps to us, and so if that was your request,
Yes.
we can certainly make that happen.
What I've found helpful is if I can have an overall county and then one of each district blown up, that really makes it much easier, especially when you're looking at potential development for housing.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we're going to go into the transportation element right now. Let's do it like we did before. I do have one item on page 1. The third paragraph from the bottom, the level of service standard for a roadway using the county shall use the Florida Department. It's kind of in direct competition of what we try to do at the Florida Association of Counties. In rural Florida, we try to get the state not to use the book on us. And these are, I'm not talking about state roads, I'm talking about, or state projects, I'm talking about our projects. And we talked earlier about a standard road doesn't need to be 66 feet and have 5 inches of asphalt and all that. So I'd like for us to maybe put the level of service standard for a roadway, the county strives to use, not shall use.
Where are you, Mr. Harvey?
On page 1 of the transportation element, the third paragraph from the bottom, the level of service standard for a roadway.
Okay.
Take out the word shall and put strive to. But I don't want to be, that book causes us a lot of problems in rural Florida.
You doing the green book?
Yes.
Take out shall.
Okay, so one more time, so after county, it will read,
Strike shall.
Strike shall and put strive to or whatever.
Well, the county shall strive to.
No,
No, the county will
the county
strive to
will strive to.
Okay.
use.
Okay? And that's all I have on that one.
Okay, on page 1, I had a question. who sets on number 4 on policy B111, it says state highway system, and it has the levels of service for rural multi-lane, the level of service C. Did we set that in our comp plan, or is that state set? Because if it's not, we need to move it to D. And the reason why, like the rest of them, because I noticed in the back, we changed several to D, because if we exceed the level of service that we write in our comp plan, we've either got to change the comp plan, or it'll put a moratorium on permits.
Yep.
So we need to set them as high as the state will let us set them. Now, I understand that the other side of that is they won't mess with them until our comp plan, we may keep us from getting a road paved in the future that we want paved or redone or whatever, or widened, or whatever the case may be. But there may be a 5 to 10 year stretch in between when we exceed that level of service and when DOT decides to pony up. And if that's the case, then we could get a moratorium on permitting in the area on any development whatsoever. Homes, commercial, anything.
So you want to do 4?
I'd like to do level of service D on everything unless somebody can explain to me why we couldn't.
I don't think anybody wants to.
Is this considered a minor or major change to the comp plan if it had to be changed in the future?
This is a major change. All the changes combined would be major, right?
Yeah.
No. This one, so I understand Commissioner Turner's point, and it's well taken. If we put this rope around our neck, it's restrictive. If we don't put it around our neck, it's restrictive. So if we go ahead and set everything at D, then we can increase
Right.
up to that point. But if we go to get a road put in, they're gonna say, well, you guys don't rise to that occasion.
I don't think they'll do that, I really don't. I think that they'll use their own level of service
Okay.
on roads instead of ours. That's why I'm proposing that we don't wanna just hamstring ourselves,
Yeah.
is what I don't think we
I don't
want
have a
to
problem
do.
with it. I just, if we did have to change it later, would that be a major amendment to the comp plan, or it would be, okay?
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, we're going to change under B1114 for level of service. It will be going from C to D in both of those.
Everything,
Everything D.
Everything's D.
DDD.
So it's just, okay, gotcha.
The problem with doing it later isn't that it's an issue, it's just that it takes 6 months to update the comp plan. By then,
Okay.
your development's history if you've already killed the developmental
Right.
permits.
I agree.
So,
Okay, does anybody else have anything on any pages?
that's all I had in transportation.
Commissioner
No, I
Rawls,
did,
you-
page 7.
I got one on 6.
You got, okay, go ahead
I
with
got
6.
one on 7.
So it says here under B1.5.34, the county shall continue to coordinate with the Putnam County Transportation Committee. So we have Transportation Committee meetings, but we don't really have any active participants other than the commission and staff. And my question is, shouldn't we be involving the other municipalities and other stakeholders in the county in these transportation committee, in the transportation committee, other than just ourselves and Public Works?
If you need me.
Might not be a bad idea, but when I first came here, we had 2 citizens on the Transportation Committee, and it's kind of morphed into where we don't have that anymore.
Well,
So,
what brings
yeah.
the question up is, we're fixing to deal with St. John's Avenue. When I was talking to the mayor, he's questioning why we would even waste the money doing that when they have issues they need to correct on St. John's Avenue between 19th Street and Palm Avenue. And it just kind of, I said, why don't you guys have any representation at the committee, because we don't get invited to it, so I just,
Well, but in defense of that, there's been some rumblings about starting up Logic again, okay?
logic doesn't make any sense. It's illogical. No, I mean, seriously,
I know, it's a pain.
It's
we
fun.
have
Logic
a
is a
committee, we meet
of
once a month.
local government in action.
Yeah, I'm a smaller government in action,
I
so
know.
it's just another committee to kick the can down the road. I personally think we have these meetings, maybe we should have those folks at the
So
table
what are you
with us.
proposing, that when we redo our committees, that
Maybe
Putnam County
define the
Transportation?
committee, not just say the committee, but actually define it and be more, and then some of the things that we're going to be talking tomorrow is, the inclusion of other municipalities for agenda, and, Mr. Pickens just reached out to 3 municipalities in his area. I only have 1. You've got 1 or 2. I apologize.
I have none.
Commissioner Amzak has 1.
Which one do I got?
Well, you have none.
I have none.
You have none. Yeah, I mean, I think we could revamp that committee, but yeah. What else do you have there, Commissioner? Commissioner Pickens has 7.
He had, yeah, I was only had on page 6.
Okay.
I had 7 as well.
Commissioner Pickens, number 7?
Yeah, I just want some clarification on B, 171. It says the county shall coordinate with RIDE Solution with the establishment and expansion of the,
Of the,
and then
But it just stops.
and it just stops, so, and the rest of it was.
So I had 2
Right.
questions on that, the
Strike
same
it.
exact thing you're saying, but also do we want to define it as RIDE Solution, because this is a 15-year plan. RIDE Solution may not, can we just say a service provider, or be a little more generic there? That would be on 171 and 172, but I agree with Mr.
I have no
Pickens.
issue with that. I look to our consultant. Brian, any issue there?
I would think I would rather have RIDE Solutions or the public transportation provider, maybe, something like that, in case.
Or alternative provider,
alternative.
Or another provider, yeah.
Or approved provider?
or approved provider, yeah. Just
Well,
I
that
don't
would-
like
that would be
shoehorn
set-
ourselves into one place, because they could go out of business, anything can happen.
okay, but we could do that in 1.1, I mean, 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3.
We're going to need to add to that, though, we're going to have to finish the sentence.
Right.
And the sentence shall be finished, gentlemen, as,
The services?
To be honest with you, I don't know what the rest of that sentence says. I can find out when I get back to the office.
It originally said transit routes as specified in the transportation element data and analysis.
Well, if we just put transportation services, would
I
that
think that works
be
fine.
all-inclusive?
Yeah.
Expansion of transportation services?
Yeah, that'll work.
transportation and,
Transportation services.
got it?
Okay.
So for clarification, are we leaving the word expansion there or taking that out? The establishment and
No, expansion
expansion
can
of
stay in there,
transportation
'cause-
services?
The expansion
Okay.
can stay, yeah.
Okay.
What else do you have there on page
And
7?
172, same thing, add or approved provider.
Commissioner Turner had something on 7.
So Commissioner Adams did. I'm
Okay.
done with the transportation.
Commissioner Amzak, what else do you have on 7?
Well, he covered it, and then we just added.
7.1 and 7.2, correct? That's the only
And
changes?
7.3.
And 7.3.
Also where it says RIDE Solutions or,
What did you say? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to track.
And
B
173, a little lower,
see, it says RIDE Solutions there.
in the red.
Oh, I got you.
Okay.
I see it. Okay.
And again, the only thing I got on 8, and I'm done with transportation, B 1.8.6, we're naming the Regional Planning Council. Whatever. I just think it's dangerous for us to keep, this is a 15-year plan, and I'm sure they're not going anywhere, but
It's got to coordinate with somebody.
yeah, with DOT, I don't know. I'm fine if y'all are fine. I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay, housing element.
All right, 1 second. Let me just get caught up real quick, please.
Because I see your point. I think Commissioner Harvey's right. If we're a little more generic in the terminology, we have a relationship with the Northeast Florida Regional Council. If something changed in the future, what do we have to do to change it in our comp plan in the next 15 years?
It really isn't that tough, and
Because this says we shall.
that type of thing is nothing that's gonna force you to use them and nobody else. It just says that you can use them over someone
It
else.
says we shall. It says we shall
And
continue.
We shall do that if they're available, but if they're not we have 2 members on the Northeast Florida Regional Planning Council. So, yeah, we will, shall continue to coordinate planning with them. We're gonna do it rather that or not, unless they go away. If they go away, then it's gonna be a moot point, so.
But if it became advantageous for us to start coordinating with someone else, then we would be restricted because it says we
No,
have
we
to
need-
coordinate with them.
Commissioner Rawls, I'm not trying to start a debate, but we need to put the comp plan in perspective. The comp plan is like a budget. It's overall, doesn't mean you got to do everything in it or stick close to the lines or do any of that. It's just like an outline of what we're gonna do for the maximum set in our land development code. So basically, it's the first step is getting a comprehensive plan that we can build our land development code off of. Would you agree with that, Mr. Brown? So basically, that we're using this as the premise to set our maximums and the things that the policy goals and objectives that we're gonna try to strive for. And then we're gonna use our land development code to come up with rules and regulations that matches the comp plan. So,
But this is specifically directed at transportation.
I understand.
To me, it seems
You
like
think the transportation police are gonna show up because we plan with somebody other than Northeast Florida Regional Planning Council?
I'm not planning on being here 15 years from now, so
No,
I
me
can just tell you. that,
Do you have another wording that we could insert in there that maybe we could name them all and then, or other?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm assuming that, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, are we required to coordinate with outside agencies for, and it says FDOT as well, to enhance transportation planning? Is that required under state statute?
No, it's not necessarily required in a state statute, but it's a smart thing to do.
Okay.
In here, it says, these are the groups you shall. It would say, and only these, then I would see the point. But this names groups you will coordinate with, and you're gonna do that anyhow. But if somebody comes along, say the Center for Urban Cutter, whatever that is down at University of South Florida, you know, if you wanted them to do a study and they had money to do it, you could certainly coordinate with them. It doesn't preclude you from talking to other people
Okay.
at all.
All right, let's move on to the housing element then.
I have nothing.
Research.
It should be ready for you now, Mr. Chair, electronically in front of you.
Okay, thank you. I have one thing on page 111, C111. Can we fit workforce housing, or is that even something that we want to put in there? Because that's kind of the new buzzword versus affordable. Yes, sir, Mr.
I don't have any problem with changing that from affordable to workplace housing whatsoever,
Or both?
Both.
or both, that's fine. But what we don't wanna do is put any kind of level of service in there that the county has to
No,
meet.
no. So why don't we put where it says affordable / workforce housing programs? Would that be okay? And the other question I have is 1.1.2, continue formal coordination with the Palaca Housing Authority. I have never done that.
Yeah, I'd like to strike that if it's not,
Yeah, it's not, it's,
we don't have any formal.
Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up. Where are you now?
Authority, that's C112.
C112.
Okay.
Just
the one
strike the
underneath.
I got something on
Strike the whole
1.1.
okay, so we're going to strike that whole policy right there. Mr. Rawls, you had what?
So under 1.1, under objective, it says the county shall continue to assist the private sector to deliver additional dwelling units of various types, sizes, costs to meet the demand of blank units, of new units by 2035. At some point, somebody had put 29,640, which is about what we currently have historically in Putnam County. But I wrote the question projections. And I know that from some of the meetings I've sat in on, we're projected to grow about 6% over the next 10 years. I disagree with that, based on what I'm seeing and hearing right now. And if we did not have supply chain issues right now, you would probably be looking at north of 10% over the next 10 years. But at some point, should we not have projections in here, since this is our comprehensive plan and we are looking at trying to move the needle forward? Or are we just gonna say, well, just whatever blank housing? Because if somebody came in and said, I want to put 40,000 new houses on the board, I'd be really upset about that. But if they said, you know, over the next 15 years, we're projecting to put 500 new houses on the board, I'd be really upset about that.
First of all, those numbers are really found in the background data and analysis under the housing element. The numbers you see that were in there were from your last comprehensive plan. It is a really bad idea to put a projection of need into something that becomes the policy of the county. The policy should be you're going to meet the needs. The housing background data and analysis will tell you, based upon projections, what that need will be.
See,
So
look, so
one is a policy framework and the other one is a factual framework.
you bring up the data, and I don't know if we're gonna get into this later, but I have a problem with the data because in looking at the old comp plan and looking at this data, they don't line up. Now, I know that the old one also took into consideration, it didn't take into consideration the downturn in the economy. So I don't know when the switch was made, but at one point, we were projected to have 85,000 population here. And obviously, that didn't happen, is not gonna happen.
And if I'm understanding correctly, Brian's saying to leave the projection number out of it and just say that we will continue to assist the private sector to deliver whatever number of those new units are necessary by 2035. So why does it matter if we have a certain number in there or not when our advisor just told us it's not a good idea to have a number in there?
Because
projected
we go on to say that it's based on our anticipated population, and we do have an anticipated population at some point. So I'm just wondering, from a planning perspective, all this is a planning document. If we don't know what we're facing right now, say in the next 3 years, and we're not preparing for the next 3 years of growth in workforce housing. And I respectfully disagree with anybody that wants to tell me that workforce housing is affordable housing, because if we're gonna follow the advice of Northeast Florida Regional Council, affordable housing is anything but 100% of median, where workforce housing is 80 to 100% and actually 120%. So I think that it might behoove us to have a little bit of meat in here. I'm just putting that out there.
Just for the purposes of framing this county, through official projections, either through the Bureau of Economic and Business Research or the Florida Office of Economic and Demographic Research, shows that in the median projections, this county is going to grow phenomenally slowly between now and 2035.
And their data was compiled when?
Last-
Pre-COVID or post-COVID?
Just recently, these are estimates from the U.S. Census.
No, these are estimates really
they're
out of, they would be now 2018. There are no data available.
I would encourage you to go shopping at Lowe's in St. Augustine and talk to the number of people that have gone to work there that have moved here from New Jersey. We are getting an influx of folks moving down here.
Vote on this issue, or we'll be here till 5 o'clock to
I
make
just,
whether or not.
well, the reason I bring this up is I think right now especially, we could be looking at flawed data if we're not careful, especially in light of what's happened over the past 365 days.
It'd be flawed when there's no data there, Jeff. They took the data out. It
No,
just
no, no,
said,
we're using,
We will strive to
I
meet
think-
the demands of the units.
at the end of the day, we have to publish this. And I asked you at the beginning, are we publishing the data?
What I'm telling you, Commissioner, there are no data available outside of anecdotal data. You going to Lowe's, and I hear it from other places, outside of maybe take a look at your building permit numbers and see if your building permits have gone skyrocket. I would tend to probably doubt that at this juncture. But there are no official data available at this point in time that
What's our
captures
building
any.
permits like?
We are seeing an increase.
Well, I think we got to take the advice of our consultant. Don't put projected numbers in there. It leaves us wide open for everything.
What I'm saying is, when we're discussing this, I think that we should be looking at not anecdotal data, but real data that we have
But we
available.
don't have real data right now.
We do, we just have to start mining it, because this thing unfortunately was started at the same time as COVID hit. And that completely blew everything apart. And I would agree with you if we were having this conversation last February. But in light of what happened in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Michigan, California, we are now starting, Florida itself is experiencing an influx of folks, and all of a sudden, rural communities are the new hotbed, to the point that we now have outside investors from outside the country that I'm aware of that are looking at Putnam County. So,
But what's giving you heartburn? Why do we need to put a number on something when we're just? when
no,
we
what
have-
I'm saying is, my concern is that when I look at this thing a year from now, if I'm an outsider and I come in, and I've done this before, I started looking at the comp plan 10 years ago, and I hated the data that was in there because the data was not relevant. We got hit by a recession that nobody could have projected, but we were stuck with this document that had old data in it that was no good.
But Jeff, I
And-
don't know if we're ever going to have new data that's going to really be what you want it to be. So I think this, but right now, gives us a broad brush to paint with. And I think that's what we're going to have to live with.
At one point, this thing talks about having a median household income of less than $35,000. But there's data out there that shows that it's over $45,000 or $43,000. And so that's the kind of stuff I'm concerned about, is once we publish this, anybody looking to come to Putnam to make investments, look at this and go, well, you guys got a lot of underpaid folks here with your low median income. So I'm just putting out there.
They're going to look at those numbers anyway. All we're doing is saying we're open for business as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
So are we
So-
good?
All right, on the next, I've got, on the bottom of that same page, C 1.2.1, I wrote, I can't read my handwriting by, I don't know. I wrote by what something, by what means, okay, the community shall continue to pursue the Community Development Block Grant, the State Housing Initiative Partnership, Emergency Weatherization, Public-Private Partnerships, Community Redevelopment, blah, blah, blah. I put by what means. I'm just wondering if we shouldn't have a little more meat to this, because this is the same language that was in our last one. We just added CDBG. And I'm not a huge proponent of grant programs like that, and I think that the ship needs to be redirected. I've, said this publicly, so it's nothing new, but I just feel like we really need to take a look at this housing element in all of its pieces and parts, especially this, when we're looking at going forward with our comp plan.
So you're saying you're not in favor of continuing to pursue grants?
It says, the county should continue to pursue and use community development block grants, the State Housing Initiative Partnership. What I'm saying is, this is the same language that was in our last one. And I'm not thrilled about our last 3 LHAPs. And so this is a document that we've been living under currently, and it hasn't worked. So I'm just wondering if we shouldn't put something with more teeth in it now. So future commissions and future county administrations cannot let it just lie around and nothing be done. And, we're responsible for this.
I understand.
I guess that's the difference between the way I look at it and you. I do not want to put anything in here that's going to unjustly tie the hands of any future commissioner to what needs to be done at that time, because we think it should or should not be done at this time. So
And
I
I-
think that we need to make this generic enough to where it doesn't absolutely say you've got to do this by such and such a date, and if you fall out of compliance, then I, as a developer,
out.
can sue you. That's
No,
what-
I get that, but so if I just apply this to us and I say, have we used available housing-related grant revenue to rehabilitate structures, housing, and eliminate blight in neighborhoods? If I answer that honestly, I would say, no, we haven't. We're striving towards it now, but I'm just asking, is there some way of putting some teeth into this that will move us in the direction of taking on the blight issue and not just having it as words on paper?
Commissioner, I think the new LHAP, when we get to that point, will address that. I really do believe that. And I think we can be broad enough here and be defined on that, and we can move forward.
Right, and we'll be working on the LHAP soon.
Yeah.
Actually this month.
Yeah.
So,
Your committee's doing that now.
right, and we are catching up, and I agree with you. When I first got here, the distribution of those monies was tied up, and now we're moving forward, and we're actually catching up. which is a positive.
We haven't been in, we're on the same page when you went out.
We are not.
Excuse me, we made.
We moved two
made
sentences.
One page.
One page since
Put
you
your
left.
fingers down.
All right, I'll move it along. On page 2, I've got capital expenditures for public infrastructure, supporting facilities and services. This is C 1.2.6.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. And service will be concentrated to upgrade the quality of existing neighborhoods. And then I wrote, what is the definition of neighborhood? And, you know, is there an example of this? Because we are very rural in nature, and when you start talking about neighborhoods, I'm afraid that it's just too broad of a, I mean, I know we're trying to make this a little bit broad, but what exactly is a neighborhood? Is Interlaken Lakes Estates a neighborhood?
Well, yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
excuse me.
Hoodout Ridge, or?
When I think of neighborhoods in Putnam County, you know, Melrose is a neighborhood. Satsuma is a neighborhood.
Okay,
East Palatka is a neighborhood. There's no single definition of neighborhood that's going to satisfy a rural community versus an urban community, because they're different creatures, but it can be whatever you want it to be.
Could be new neighborhood.
That's right.
I didn't, when I read that, I kind of scratched my head and said, what is a neighborhood in Putnam County? Because I couldn't really, I would have never expected to hear somebody say, well, Melbourne is a neighborhood, or.
Sure.
So are you thinking to be more general in aspect or to be more specific?
Well,
I mean, if you were looking to be more general, you could say the quality of our community
Yeah.
or of our county.
capital expenditures for public infrastructure and supporting facilities. Now we're looking at, you know, if we could,
I like what Commissioner Adamsack said, the quality of our community. That's a broad brush
Or communities that
Communities.
takes into account everywhere.
communities, okay.
of communities.
Okay,
Can you live with that?
yep,
All right, what else you got?
So if I may, that's going to be upgrade the quality of our communities.
Exactly.
yep, there we go, okay. C.1.4, the county shall continue to ensure that sites are available to locate group homes, foster care
What page are
facilities.
you
3, I'm sorry.
on? Okay.
We'll see 1.4. Ensure that sites are available to locate group homes, foster care facilities throughout the county, and the overconcentration of such facilities, in particular residential areas, blah, blah, blah. And I put, where are these currently? So do we currently have anything in the county that describes where we should have these, where we don't have them, if they're,
Mike, I don't think we identify group home, like foster homes and things.
No,
I think that's dangerous anyway.
they are allowed, they're basically dictated by our zoning districts, where they're allowed in the zoning districts.
it just says, we shall ensure that they're available.
Yeah,
And they are available throughout the county. But we just don't concentrate them in one area.
Okay.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
That's what it says. and that's
Well, it says over concentration, so we don't have too many in one area, so I didn't know. I'm familiar with
we
very
don't
few
have,
of them.
there's no threshold as to what,
Yeah,
you
there's
know.
no island built for,
Right. I mean, we allow them in a number of our residential zoning districts. And that basically defines where they're allowed to go.
are you good?
How do we ensure that we don't over concentrate? What's our protection against that?
I don't think you're gonna know that they're out there. I mean, I hate to say it that way.
What it says here, it says, and that over concentration of such facilities, any particular residential
I
area
think
is
that's
avoided.
one of
I
those
didn't-
issues, if it happens, we'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know what you're saying, and I know where some have just popped up willy-nilly. When I was a paramedic, we would go to houses, people's houses, and they would have 4 or 5 seniors there under their care. They're basically running an ACLF out of their house, and is that allowed, or?
It is to an extent, and some of those may not have been state licensed. I can't swear
no way
that
to-
that those you were going to, the ones we know about, we require state license.
Okay. On page 4, the next one, I've got a C 1.7. The county shall continue to ensure that housing implementation programs are in place and available to support private sector development activities. So when it says when it says housing implementation programs available to support private sector development, I'm just kind of, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. I wrote, my question is, should we not consider having a moratorium on mobile homes? There, I said
You
it.
can't.
And I'm just wondering if there is a way that we can, you know, with over 50% of our housing being mobile home in the community right now. I think it's over 16,000 to 13,000.
The way to do it,
Understand.
at least I would suggest, if you wanted to limit, is look at your zoning districts, your residential zoning districts, and where they're allowed.
How can we do that now in this document?
You go to your-
I'm not for that. I'll
Yeah,
just,
I
I'll
know,
come
I'm
right
just-
out and say I'm not for it.
Yeah.
I don't
Some
wanna do
people have to live in affordable housing, which is a mobile home. I don't live in one. I don't hope I don't ever have to live in one, but I damn sure did when I was younger, because I couldn't do no better. And there's a lot of people, that's their first step in moving towards home ownership or whatever. So this commissioner is not voting to limit mobile homes other than through zoning districts, putting them in the right place, doing the things that we now currently do. But as far as saying we got too many mobile homes in Putnam County, I'm not gonna vote for that.
No, and I'm not either, because honestly, we get payment in lieu of taxes for those mobile homes. And a lot of people do pay taxes on a mobile home. I do, and I live in a mobile home. So, but I choose to live beside my mother-in-law.
Well,
That's just so I know,
if I'm the turn the punch bowl, that's fine, but eventually, we've got to face the problem, which is that we still allow mobile homes to be drug in here from out of county that are not new mobile homes, and affordable or not, you know, and I can sit here and have a very intelligent debate with you on what the definition of affordability is, but when you're paying a high electric cost and high maintenance cost on a house, that figures in, your overhead figures into your capital outlay every month, so.
I get
You know,
that, but
I guess
I'm not
we
gonna
need to vote
dictate.
on this when we move on, Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
if you guys don't want to do it, I understand. I'm just saying, it seems to me like we should have something in this document that reflects where we want to be 15 years down the road regarding our housing. And if mobile home is part of it, shouldn't we be looking at putting some sort of moratorium on there that if we're going to have mobile homes in the community, they have to be a certain age or newer, and not saying
Have
that.
that now.
Yeah, and I can bring a 1981 mobile home in here from Clay County and set it up next
As
week.
long as it meets the Florida building code,
Yeah.
it's acceptable.
That's right, and so we can bring in like 1980s vintage right now.
You could.
Doesn't
Why
see
can't
one-
why can't we preclude it to like a 2000 and newer mobile home or something like that, so we don't get dumped on by
That's
other
still not
areas?
in the land code. Could we at least try to, Mr. Chairman, could we at least try to focus on the task at hand today, which is dealing with the land code? We keep going off in all the directions on things that have nothing to do with the subject matter on the table today.
This is what develops the LDC.
Mr. Chair, I believe to help Mr. Rawls, that would be best answered in the land development code by reviewing and potentially changing, you know, what is allowed in, say, R1, R2, ag. That's the proper place to address the placement of mobile homes.
Doesn't the next C-171, doesn't that kind of address what he's getting at, that it'll be addressed in the land development code? The county shall adopt a land development code that provides for easy reference for principles, criteria for locating low and moderate income housing, mobile homes, stuff like that. Am I incorrect on that?
no, you're fine.
The next two, so it'll be addressed in the land development code.
But this is what drives the land development code.
Well, we'll,
I think what he's saying is this would be the ceiling,
And I'm not disagreeing
right?
with
So
you.
it's
sorry?
just like, this would be the ceiling for what the land development can do. But I think we could do it in the land development code.
yeah. All right, we're gonna do it in the land development code when we get there, but we're gonna be very cautious about that. Okay, anything else, Commissioner Ross?
That's it.
Okay. Moving on to the infrastructure element.
Wait, I did have one more thing. On the last page where it talks about lead,
What number?
number C 1.81, this talks about construction of energy efficient housing, and then it talks about lead. Is this normal in most counties when they're talking about residential development to reference lead?
This is, if I might, Mr. Chairman.
You
Mr.
may,
Chair.
please.
This is a part of LEED. It's the Neighborhood Development Design part of LEED. LEED has numbers. You can be LEED certified in the building. You can be LEED certified in a neighborhood design kind of a prospect. So this is talking about neighborhood development design. So yeah, it would be appropriate in a residential setting in how you design the neighborhood, not talking about how you design the house.
All right, I get it.
It also says we'll encourage it. It doesn't say that you're gonna have to build lead homes only.
Well, no, the reason what's missing from this is the St. John's River Water Management District still, I believe, has a program called Water Star. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And it was never born out of anything LEED, but it was before 2009, I believe, they had started putting this into play. But I just wonder if we shouldn't reference Water Star and Energy Star if we're going to reference LEED, because from what I do for a living, Energy Star is a lot more attainable and a lot more used than LEED would ever be used in residential design or anything else like that. So
So do you want to add
add
Energy
in
Star?
Energy Star and Water Star, yeah, where and when available. Or,
I don't have a problem with Energy Star and Water Star where they are available. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just says
Jim,
we're
did you
gonna
get that?
encourage, basically it says we're just gonna encourage
Right,
the construction of energy efficient housing.
exactly.
So, yeah, I don't care what names you put in there that we're gonna encourage.
Can I get I'm gonna encourage energy efficient housing. I'm done with it now. Thank you.
Okay. Infrastructure element, Jim, are you ready for that?
No, sir. 1 second, please.
I have something on page 3.
I got one-on-one, but I'm not sure
Okay,
what.
well, we need to start at 1 then.
Go ahead and start with one.
I didn't write myself a note, I just highlighted this. Now I'm trying to remember why. The county shall maintain a 5-year schedule.
I am ready,
Capital-
Mr. Chair.
I got that one too.
Okay, the CIP?
Yeah, I think it should say the county commissioners shall maintain a 5-year schedule. We do that anyway on capital improvement needs. Or capital, CIP.
Yeah,
So D 1111, you just want to add I wanted to add the word county commission.
commission, yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, who's next? Who's got the next number?
Page 2.
Page 2, Mr. Pickens?
Drinking water shall meet the quality.
Need to turn it on, yeah.
Thank you for reminding me of that, Susan Neal.
B?
C, drinking water shall meet the quality standards established by the FDEP and the,
FDOH.
Department of Health.
okay, it is in there, okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That's why I need to have my glasses, thank you. Okay,
Okay. Anything on page 3? Anything on 4?
I have 3.
Okay, you have 3?
Down at the very bottom, D16, the county shall maximize the use of existing infrastructure, coordinate the extension of, or encourage the capacity of sewer facilities to meet the future needs. So, I don't think we need to encourage it increases, but we don't need to say that we will increase it because the money may not be available. I mean, the only reason we got sewer and water in East Palaca right now is because the county borrowed the money.
What do you want it to say?
Encourage,
The county shall
shall
encourage?
encourage the increase of capacity.
Okay.
I'm good with that. Did you get that, Jim?
He's putting encourage
Working
in front
on
of increase. D 1.6.
1.6 on the bottom of
Encourage
page.
the increase
page 3.
of capacity. Encourage the increased with a D, capacity of sanitary and water sewers, and kill the D, that, yeah,
I'm good with that.
And change the or to an and.
yeah. Yeah.
All right, anybody on 4? 5? 6?
Yes, sir, on D, 1.8.5, all improvements or replacement, expansion or increase in capacity for facilities shall be compatible with a level of service standards for the facility stated in this element. Oh, excuse me, that's not the one I did. The one above it, D 1.8.4. The county shall continue its recycling effort to meet the requirements of the Florida statutes, and then put the numbers in there, and then delete which requires each county and municipality to undertake recycling efforts and to reduce the volume of solid waste. Why we got that in there? That's what it tells us to do. We just need to cross that out.
Yeah,
So it basically should read at the end of Florida statutes, the county will continue to provide an annual report to the state, which they make us do anyhow. So they just need to cross out which requires each county and municipality to undertake recycling efforts and to reduce the volume of solid waste requiring disposal, because that's what we got to do anyhow.
B1? Okay, good. Are we all in agreement on that?
So what is that again?
Where B1 starts after the,
B is in Bravo?
D.
B is in boy?
D. Well, I'm on I thought we were D1 point.
Okay, D 1.84.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, after the number 32, see it? B1,
Oh, okay.
which requires each county all the way to disposal. Take that whole sentence out because the county shall continue its recycling efforts to meet the requirements of Florida statute. So it's just redundant to say that over again. That's
Okay,
all.
with you.
All right?
Well, this is government. I thought that's what we're
No,
supposed to do.
we're not. We don't want to be redundant.
Okay.
Page 7, Mr. Chairman.
Page 7?
It says that the county stormwater master plan shall be updated
section?
by 2023.
D 1002.
1102.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
D 1.10.2, the county stormwater plan will be updated by 2023. In government years, that's like a blink of the eye. Do we want to put that off till a year or two after that, or do you think we can do it by then? Or when you put something in something that ain't even gonna be approved till the end of 21 and say it's got to be done by 23, I don't know. Like I said, this is the government.
Yeah, I also had that and was wondering who was gonna do it and how was it gonna get done, you know, by
What
that-
does it
by
take
that
to
time.
update the current
Yeah, I
plan?
didn't know what it would
I
take
didn't
to
know we have
update
it.
it.
That's what
So why can't we just simply say it'll be updated regularly? And then we can get it done as
Is there
soon
a
as we
statutory
can and then have it done
requirement,
again in a few years when
The
it's.
Is this a
updated
state
re-
requirement?
Is it a state
Mr. Teeple, is there any state requirements for that?
No, there's state requirements on the management of stormwater. I think the point here is, and I certainly understand the 2023 problem, that is a nanosecond in government terms. I think the point here was, if I can recall back, and this, I think came from the commission, Madam Chair, or I might be wrong, was that what you have really has kind of been neglected and hasn't been updated, and this was an effort to get you to go ahead and update that.
Well, I think there's also some commissioner priorities that are dealing with a stormwater management plan too. So, but it doesn't hurt to have that. Why don't we move that out to 2025? Would that be okay? And that solves the whole problem?
You know,
I
like
I do
24
have
be
one
better?
thing on 7.
Do we wanna, what kind of regularity is that normally done?
That's 4 years.
Is that every 5 years? Is it every 10 years? Is
We
it,
can do it
In
early.
reality, or when it's
I think we're
supposed to
gonna do
when
be?
it
is it supposed to be?
I think it's supposed to be done on a very regular basis. The problem is that it's kind of at the bottom of the list. When there's only so many hours in the day, you don't have time to get to it, and next thing you know, you're 2 years out of compliance, and instead of taking 3 weeks to fix, it's gonna take 6 weeks to fix. And when we're a planner short, and, I mean, you got to prioritize your time.
This is a
And-
this is a public works effort, just to
I
let you know.
But they're short too.
Yeah,
So if it went beyond 2025, our expectation, we don't wanna put anything beyond that because we don't wanna be handcuffed by it,
Right.
is what you're
I'm not
saying.
even sure if we have one.
Well, and
Maybe, it's maybe creating one.
okay, I have
And
have
one.
an
Putnam.
an
We
old
don't
one
wanna
that's.
establish a regularity after 2025, is that what you're saying?
Right. Okay, I have one thing on the top of page 7 where it says 35%. Is that consistent with what we did earlier in the morning, this morning?
Yes.
Okay, 35% in the high.
You have to ask for above 35.
Okay, and that's in the high, okay, good. As long as we're there.
What are you talking about?
On page 7, we're talking impervious surfaces again. and high aquifer water recharge, we have a number of 35% on top, on page 7. Are we good with leaving that at 35?
I think this is a little different.
It's a little different because they're talking about.
High water recharge.
Yeah, high water recharge, but, okay, so
You know, you-
it's a very good point for discussion. Do we, wherever we have a high recharge area, we want as much ground available for that water to get down into the aquifers. So I'm not so sure that on a high recharge area, we shouldn't leave it at a lower, impervious surface, density. So
But this says 8 inches of rain per year, and I had 4 inches of rain in an hour a couple weeks ago. I mean, seriously, so, you
I
know,
think-
yeah,
But
for a
remember,
lot of
the-
years,
these are,
Maybe if you weren't using your downspout to collect the sample, you wouldn't have that.
but, okay, but, I mean, we're,
Well,
all
I'm
of
good
Putnam
for-
County
I'm good
gets
for
more.
raising it up if that's what you're wanting
I
to
think
do.
we should.
To 40?
Whatever, 50%, I think would be
Okay.
fine.
I'm good with that.
What are we changing it to, I'm sorry?
50% from 35 on the first line on page 7.
All right, we're done with 7. Is there anything on 8? Hearing none, we're going to take a 4-minute break.
We gotta get you a bigger bladder.
let's reconvene our meeting. We're going to be on the,
Chairman Harvey, can I just ask something, if you don't mind,
I
on the
don't
last
mind.
part? So during that discussion about the septics and sewer parts and stuff, does anything about biosolids need to be taken into account in the comprehensive plan? I don't mean like for new facilities like is handled by the ZBOA. I know we talked about maybe doing something about that later, that thing that came before us, but what about our biosolids that come from our treatment plants? My understanding is, after I asked, because I wanted to see if the places that were gonna take place here would be a good candidate for us to bring them to them to save on trucking, but it turns out it sounds like we bring them to the dump. So is that something that we should talk about if we hope to expand sewer facilities in the future? I don't know, are we close to capacity with the dump I mean, I never knew that we were bringing them to the dump till 3 days ago.
Only the stuff that's already dried as biosolids had come.
Right,
It may be that we're not doing that all the time in the future. It could be if there becomes a market for it or a place to put it other than, we'd certainly send it somewhere else. It's just not a lot of market right now for human biosolids. There are markets for animal biosolids, just not human.
so is there a place in here that we should comment on that for the next 15 years, or?
I don't know if we need it in our comp plan or we just have it in our zoning. What do you,
Well, so first of all, biosolids is a huge controversy around the state, right? And right now, you are drying your biosolids and putting in your landfill. Frankly, the amount that's going into the landfill is extremely limited because you really don't have a lot of sewer going on at this juncture. I don't think I would address the issue of biosolids. I think I would deal with that as a separate public policy issue if you need to down the road, because I'm not even sure where the biosolids debate will ultimately end up. It's going to be dealt with in the legislature, and like many things in the legislature, they'll deal with it 1 year, then they'll come back and deal with it again. So I can't, my crystal ball is certainly not good enough to know where we're going with biosolids.
So we would want to do that by ordinance locally for now, if we chose to do something,
Right.
not that we will.
yeah, we could pull that out.
I was just 'cause of the conversation
We have
is-
No,
more-
I agree.
We have more solid waste capacity in Putnam County than you could imagine.
Well,
We
yeah.
got 1,000 acres that we haven't even touched yet. So we got plenty of, future capacity.
And maybe for a future discussion, just the idea of, do the biosolids, are they allowed to be part of our, I think we have to have some organic matter mixed in with regular trash, is that counted as part of that, or?
They're allowed to be landfilled, yes.
Okay.
Well, because they're in that sealed bag, basically, on the landfill. so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, comprehensive plan, conservation element, page 1. I have one on the E.1, conserve and protect the natural resources. We can make that nature resources kind of be consistent, okay?
Just to get clarity on that, conserve and protect the nature resources?
Well, wordsmith it as you want, but yeah, I don't want to just put natural.
The resources of nature
I think is what he said.
in Putnam County?
This is going back to the Akawaha.
It's not
Lake
just the aqua,
Akawaha.
we have,
I think if you said resources of nature in Putnam County.
we have other things that,
Mr. Teeple, I think, had a suggestion.
brown-
Well, I mean, specifically to the Rodman Reservoir and the Ocklawaha River, this plan has to be consistent with the Strategic Regional Policy Plan of the Northeast Florida Regional Council, and it is clearly defined in there as a natural resource of regional significance. Mr. Brown wrote the first Strategic Regional Policy Plan, and I've kept that in there, at least during my tenure, because I knew where this commission stood, so. It's
it's not
identified.
just about the Ocklawaha drainage
Understand.
area. It's bigger than that, because like I said earlier, your farms are doing best management practices, creating wetlands, that might not have been natural, but they are now. I mean, they're nature now. I'm just saying, I think, I don't want to tie us into a statement that just because it wasn't natural, now we're eliminating it from conservation.
I
That's
think he's
not
right. Yeah, I think you're right. And if we just add one more definition in the back and then add the word nature everywhere, that we're done. We got it.
Well, yeah, that was because the wordsmithing of using the word nature versus natural was gonna be cumbersome in this. So I would recommend that we do a definition defining natural resources, which can include man-made resources
I'm good
that are
with that.
functioning. Okay,
I'm good with that. Okay.
I think that's the
Very
best way
good
to handle it.
idea.
Yeah, I like that. Anything else on page one?
Who we had you here for something?
Page two,
Pretty paltry, sir.
page three,
Going once.
page four, page three. I hear one.
I said going once.
Page one, back on one again, we need to take that out.
Take,
I'm sorry, what page are we on now?
Page one.
The new policy you put down there about a tobacco-free environment,
Yeah, E117.
yeah, we need to promote a smoke-free environment, but not necessarily tobacco-free environment.
Can you define smoke?
Also smokeless, correct?
like vape and all.
Is air quality tobacco such as smoke-free workplace?
Yeah,
Leave the tobacco-free out.
Dipping will be allowed.
Dipping will be allowed.
Is that a direction for you, Mr. Chair?
Good. Take the tobacco-free workplace. We'll address that in another issue somewhere else. Okay,
So we didn't take out tobacco?
we did.
I took out, so it reads, tobacco such as
Smoke-free
smoke-free
workplace,
workplace.
Okay, anything on 3, 4, 5,
Or,
4?
the one that was added, 1.2.15, it says that the county shall advocate the
Yeah.
purchase of lands rather by the water management than the other state land buying programs. And it says local land buying programs or other means. Do we want to leave local land buying programs in there?
I don't,
I don't either.
no.
Where are
So
you?
I
I'm
think
sorry.
you should scratch local land buying where it would read state buying programs or other means needed to protect groundwater.
I'm sorry, I
resources.
was behind. Can you tell me what page and section again?
Page 4, E1.2.15, it's the red one. Y'all added it, the underlined red one.
See it? Yes, sir.
And just scratch local land buying programs. That's all right there, just scratch
That's it.
those 4 words, and it'll read fine.
You get that, Jim?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, page 5. Okay, page 6.
I'm good all the way to 10.
Page 7, 8. Anybody got anything before 10? That'll save mine. All right, page 10.
Policy E13, the new 9. After the St. Johns River Water Management, it said the Nature Conservancy. Says Putnam County shall coordinate with the North Florida Prescribed Burn Council and the appropriate entities, including U.S. Forest Service, the Board of, the Division of Forestry, Water Management, both water managements, the Nature Conservancy, in promoting prescribed burns on public lands, including county-owned lands. I think the Nature Conservancy needs to be struck out of that sentence.
Yeah, I had it underlined too.
I'm not familiar with,
It's a group of
Why is
folks around here that call the Nature Conservancy that,
yeah, but I mean, is it, I'm,
There's just no reason to consult.
okay,
At that point. I think there's enough people in the mix,
okay.
and adding somebody like that might,
doesn't ever want you to burn or doesn't ever want you to clear any shrubs, don't ever do anything but plant trees and,
That'd hate me.
so basically, did you get that, Jim, and
Yes,
the
sir.
Nature Conservancy?
I did.
Strike that, okay.
okay, page 11.
That almost seems like an oxymoron if you're discussing them, if they don't
Yeah.
like burns and you're discussing for prescribed burns.
Yeah, exactly, that's why it needed to go. I have something on 12, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, go right ahead.
The county shall prohibit landfilling of
What number?
waste tires,
What number?
E 1.5.4. The
Okay.
county shall prohibit landfilling of tires and it needs to have unless shredded and mixed for cover. Because I think that's approved. If the tire is shredded and it's mixed with dirt, I think it's an approved cover.
Even if they're not mixed with dirt, you can use it as ADF if it's shredded.
And
But it says batteries as well. So
Right, but
we're
you
not-
can't landfill batteries, they got to
Right.
be recycled or sent somewhere else, so I'm all right with there. If you could just add unless shredded and mixed for cover.
Unless shredded for cover or shredded,
And mixed for cover, you can't just put it down there for cover only.
Gotcha.
Because it'll melt and do an impenetrable layer, which is bad for a landfill, so you have to, mix it, shred it and mix it.
I've got it, Mr. Chair.
Okay. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, page 11, policy E 1.4.5, come down where it says the county shall work with environmental groups. Okay, can we say may work with environmental groups, acquisition programs, and applicable agencies to acquire wildlife corridor?
Yeah, it needs to be may if we can.
Yeah, I like the word may in there.
Which one?
I have it.
Okay, anything else on 12, 13? Okay, moving on. Thank you. Recreation, open space element, goals, policy, and
Just give me a
objectives.
second, Mr. Chair. Let me just get caught up. I've got to save
Thank you,
this doc.
Chairman. On page 1, it's, I think that F112, the county shall encourage the availability of parking at parks and recreation facilities within the county. And the reason when, instead of review, the county shall encourage, there's certain boat ramps and things you can't add parking to, it just isn't any room, and that means you could get sued.
Right,
So I think we shall encourage the availability of parking at parks, recreation, and facilities within the county.
I agree.
All right, so I'm now just getting caught up. I'm sorry. Where are you, please?
Page 1 on the recreation, open space. Policy F.
F.1.1.2, the county shall encourage the availability of parking.
What's wrong with review? I'm just curious what the problem is with the word review.
Well, there's certain areas there's no way to promote any more parking, Paul.
But a review just says you reviewed it and we realize there's not any more room for parking. I guess,
Okay.
I mean, it's not a
Who's
shall.
gonna do who's gonna do the review?
Yeah.
I think we, yeah.
I think
Sorry.
we shall just encourage.
Which number
parking
again was
at
that?
all sites that we have.
F112.
The county
Everybody
shall
say it
review the
one-
availability of parking. I shall.
Shall encourage the availability.
Oh, I see, because later it says the county will then establish a strategy.
On page 2, Mr. Chairman, I think we're down at the bottom where it says
We all
tennis
have
courts,
that
we need to add pickleball to the tennis court.
There you go.
Yeah, 1 court per 25 people. That's a
Guys.
joke again, guys.
It's my,
I-
but you
I-
know what I don't like about that? Excuse me, Mr. Ross.
Good.
I don't like, why do we have to have one lane per 3,700 and one field for 3,500? Why do we have to have those measures there? I mean, what's the point? Because we're not dividing 73,000 people and go, oh, well, you know what? Don't have enough basketball courts when nobody's playing basketball.
I think this probably goes back to that point scoring thing that they were gonna bring the guy in for, and he couldn't come that day to our workshop, where they rate, I don't know, is that
Why
kind of
don't-
where that's going, Terry?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, no, that was a FERDAP grant,
for
and
the
that will be a project-specific grant that we would put in. And so I don't know if these numbers here would be part of that. I haven't, in my last grant appropriation I put in for FERDAP, we didn't use these numbers in my previous position.
Could we get rid of that F132 altogether then?
Why don't we just get rid of the one lane, the one field, the one field, the one goal, the one court?
Because you
Just the
got,
guidelines for levels of service, just get rid of them.
Yeah. Do we have to have, because we can keep
I
the
mean,
boat
these are
ramps.
only guidelines. I mean, that was a decision made by commissioners a number of years
I'd
ago.
get rid of the whole F132.
Your only
personally.
adopted level of service for recreation is 1 acre per 500 persons.
Okay, I want to get rid of all the right-hand side, or over here, 1 lane per 37, 1 table per 6,000. Cross all that out. Next page,
Well, like Commissioner Adams Act said, if we're gonna do that, we may as well just kill the whole policy F1.3.2, because all it's really saying, or either just stop it at 1 per 500 and then delete the county will consider the following guidelines for the provisions of recreational facilities, and then just kill everything after that.
I'm good with that. If
They're
that's,
just guidelines anyhow, I mean, but,
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
so,
So just kill it all, Mr. Adams?
I think so.
How many lifeguards do you need to
Because
pull
the
those 50,000
bottom
people?
line is this is driven by the people in the community, just like we decided to build a pickleball court. So this may not be relevant to what the people want.
yeah, if you'd have told us in 1993 when we were writing this or whatever, that we wouldn't even know what pickleball was.
Right.
You know, now it's probably the fastest growing sport in our county.
Maybe we'll have a revitalization of lawn darts or something, you know?
So
you
just
say
for
lawn
clarification,
darts?
I'm going to take out everything after 500 persons.
Now you're showing your age.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's fine.
I did have something on, a little further up the page on page 2.
Okay.
The county will work with state and federal agencies and other groups to explore the possibility of grants, matching funds, contributions, joint use agreements, sharing of facilities, lease of land, and volunteer labor, which further the goal in providing a comprehensive park system that properly meets the needs of the county. That's under 1.2.4, and the 1.2 advises the county will enter into a local agreement or other such cooperative effort, school district, municipalities, regional agencies, state and federal governments to enhance park recreational facilities. I wanted to see if we could add in, and nonprofits, and
Under what section?
under both,
And nonprofits?
yes.
Where at?
1.2.4.
Yeah, but I mean, where would you like to add non? How about under comprehensive park system and nonprofit?
Yeah, there you go.
And nonprofits?
Yep.
And what about,
On 1.2.5, anywhere after, you got municipalities, regional agencies, and nonprofits.
okay,
Or nonprofit, whatever, or nonprofits, not and. And the logic behind it is that if we were.
you.
Okay,
We're
all right,
with
good.
okay.
You've sold us.
We gotta sell it twice.
I got a feeling pickleball is gonna come into play in that. That's
No,
why.
I hear you. I hear you.
So for clarification, for 1.2.4, after park system, we're adding and nonprofits.
Right.
And for F125, after recreational facilities, adding in nonprofits.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct. Sure. That's what you're here for.
Okay, are we going to work with these nonprofits, or are we going to establish these nonprofits?
No, work with.
All right, wouldn't that go better up at the beginning of that sentence? The county will work with state and federal agencies, nonprofits, and other groups?
That'll work,
That'll work.
yep,
Wouldn't that be clearer?
yeah.
Clear.
Thank you.
Make sure Jim knows how clearer it is.
You got that, Jim?
I have after federal agencies and nonprofits. Correct?
Yes,
Federal agencies, common nonprofits, and groups.
because
Yes,
you're
I'm
going
gonna
to
ask-
work with those nonprofits, you're not going to establish them.
No, we're not establishing.
Okay.
Mr.
I'm gonna
Chairman?
ask a question based on last night's event. There was the ask, and in 15 years, I think we probably would get there for, and I don't know if it would have been under, maybe we gotta go back to transportation, or maybe it's in parks, because I was thinking it'd be here because of the trails. But they were talking about having a trail established on the roadways or on the side of the roadways for golf carts. So maybe identifying corridors for golf cart trails potentially in the future. That may be something we want to have in here, but I don't know where we would put it.
Well, we've got language in here, and especially in Parks and Rec, that you're,
I see trail stuff, I just never saw golf cart specific.
well, that's a trail.
Yeah, but we call them hiking trails, bicycling trails.
We just took all them out, dude.
Yeah, that's what brought it to my brain.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I ask, I apologize in trying to keep it up with my notes here. I heard conflicting, what I thought was conflicting final consent on
I can't
policy.
hear you, Terry. You got,
Policy F, 1.3.2, did we strike that in its entirety, or did we just?
We
No,
stopped it after
we
500
struck
persons.
it out 1 acre after 500 persons, and we struck the rest of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So could we do maybe like an F137 or something that says that will pursue the possibility or something of, and I don't want to say countywide ordinance, and I'm very much against that, but
I think that-
corridors for golf carts.
I think that's a completely different subject for a workshop in
Okay.
itself.
We have the ability to put communities into a golf cart community. So we already have
Yeah,
that.
so the ask was about a specifically
Specific.
along a specific road to get from one community to
Trail.
the other.
Unless we find a grant funding, the chances, I know that y'all want to hear this, but the chances of us building a cart path from Georgetown to Willaca
Right.
on the side of the road without DOT
Yeah.
funding is the amount of distance between them two fingers right
Yeah.
there. So
But
it's just not gonna
Between
happen
now and
without
15,
funding.
between now and 15 years, we may be able to do something. And there's other ideas, afterwards, some people took me aside, and there's communities that do a shared road thing. They lower the
Understand.
speed limit by 5 miles an hour or something like that, and they don't even do extra striping.
Not saying that I'm against it, Commissioner, I'm just saying I don't know that we need to
I'm
put
just
it
asking
in here
since-
to make it happen is my
Right.
point.
I got you. Because we have a lot of other stuff in here, so I just didn't know if we wanted to have that in here.
Well, we took most all that out.
Okay, page 3.
Mr. Chairman, before you move on, I've got to excuse myself. I've got a planning commission tonight, so.
You got a real job to go to, don't you?
Yeah,
I just wanted
got
to-
to leave, I got a real job.
Mr. Brown, let me say, thank you for coming down and spending time with us today, helping us get through the hard parts of it.
Yeah.
And thank you for the work you did for the county.
I appreciate it.
So please don't be a stranger to us, because we love to see
I
you.
won't. I'll stick my head down here every once in a while.
All right, Mr.
Thank you,
Brown,
Mike.
thank
Take care.
you.
Thanks,
sir.
Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, anything on page 3, page 4?
Yeah, the policy F156, so they'll review the master plan every 5 years. That's new,
Yep.
okay.
At a minimum.
That's a suggestion from planning commission then, I guess?
Yes, this is a new,
Okay,
Okay.
all right. The next item would be our intergovernmental coordination element. We'll start with page 1.
Yes, sir. G111,
I got the same thing.
it says proposed water and or sewer line extensions by either Putnam County or municipal public works departments within the unincorporated areas of the county. That's, if you read that, the County Planning Development Services Department shall review school district plans. In other words, we'll review everybody else's plans before we do proposed water. I think we need to reword that area somehow. I don't think we ought to ask permission from everybody in the world if we want to redo some of our stuff. They don't ask us.
So how do you want to word that?
I'm asking for suggestions, Mr. Chairman. I see you got it circled too, so I'm not alone.
I did.
Mr. Chair, I just got to that point. Where are we, please?
We are on page 1, under policy G1111, proposed water and or sewer lines extension.
I see. The first bullet.
It says, I guess if you struck out a minimum plan review and coordination shall be required for the following activities, and you just scratch that last sentence out of there,
Yep.
then I think that would get me where I'm trying to get. If we decide to, put in proposed water and sewer, I don't think we should have to plan it with anybody other than who's required, which would be DEP, water management, and all them, so. We don't wanna make it harder for us to add services.
I take this as we were making it harder for them to do services,
Yeah, that's what
not for us.
Do you?
I read it the
I
other
took
way,
it
yeah.
like if the district decided they were let's say Palaca decided they wanted to expand their water into the county or Interlochen, I took this, that we'd want to review their plan,
So you
not the
do
other way
it
around.
the other way around.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I read it.
Do we need a legal
What was
opinion?
the intent there?
Do we need a
This
legal
is old
opinion?
language, first of all.
But it,
Let's review it again.
Right, this was existing language, and the thought here is that you're gonna, and the second interpretation that I heard is the correct one, that you're gonna review what other folks are doing around you,
In that case, we
to,
don't need to change it.
basically in your enlightened self-interest.
We don't need to change it.
Don't need
Well,
to change anything.
can we-
Would
can
you
we add-
strike Putnam County Public Works, though, and let it just be municipal public works that you review?
Say that
Say it
one more.
again, Susan, I missed.
Strike either the Putnam County, take those 4 words out.
where are you at?
Extensions by or municipal public works departments within the unincorporated county.
No, I think we're all right with that, because that's describing them expanding into us.
Oh, okay, you're okay. Okay.
Can we add, gas in there, because that's been
Yeah.
going on for quite a while, and it's going under the radar.
How about just naming any other utility?
All utilities, yeah.
All utilities.
Municipal
Change
utilities,
water
yeah.
and/or sewer line to proposed utility extensions.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just, okay, Jeff, if you'll tell Jim,
Proposed utility extensions by either Putnam County or municipal public works departments within unincorporated county.
so that would incorporate all utilities.
So proposed utility line extensions by either the Putnam County or municipal public works departments?
I would say just
Correct.
utility extensions without using the word line either, because the world is changing and utilities are becoming wireless and other
That's true.
things as well.
Good call.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay, I have one up on G.
I
Oh.
don't want to leave that one yet, if
Okay.
we can. If it's for us reviewing them to let them extend, then why, I guess I'm not trying to be thick here, I'm just not reading it to say that. The Putnam County, the County Planning and Development Service Department shall review district school plans, plans of local governments, plans of adjacent counties, municipalities, and plans of other units of local government providing services, but not having the authority for the coordination of planning activities requirements of the comprehensive plan. At a minimum, the plan review shall be required. Okay, I got you.
And maybe she's right if you, in that first sentence, because that does create the confusion, by either get rid of Putnam County, because we don't need to review ourselves, we should be aware of ourselves.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, just take Putnam County out of there.
Right.
The utility line extensions by municipal public
By
works
other-
department, by other, yeah.
Yep. There we go.
By other municipal public departments. Well, now I'm feeling good with it.
You're not a municipality, though. The county's not a municipality.
Right. Well, we're getting rid of the county, like you said.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna get rid of the county.
Or- Okay.
Does that meet your needs, Jeff,
Does that get you there?
or Commissioner Rawls?
Yep.
Okay, I have one, G11. We named Palaca Housing Authority up there on that paragraph. Why are we naming Palaca Housing Authority? We can get rid of that, as we got rid of them before. We don't have any say-so over them. So scratch out Palaca Housing Authority.
But do we supply them utilities?
Well,
Right, and that's what this is
Well,
about?
this is basically looking and coordinates with it.
so if the Palaca Housing Authority decided they want to start doing public housing in Putnam County, would we not be entitled to know that?
Yeah, we probably would, wouldn't we? But we would, but do we just want to name them? What if it's somebody else that wants to do it? What if it's Putnam Authority? What if it,
I'd asked a question a long time ago to John Nelson, he was the director of the Housing Authority, because I'd read somewhere where it referenced the Putnam County Housing Authority. And they said that the Palaca Housing Authority was overall the entire county. So,
so the Putnam County Housing Authority was over all the county, then they changed to Palaca Housing,
no, that basically, the Palaca Housing Authority
it was over all the county.
is responsible for not just public housing, but for housing period in Putnam
that was
County
the point
with
here.
regards to low income, very low income.
Public Works.
They're your go-to, so,
So that's
because
their
we don't have a housing authority.
That's our boundaries. yeah.
So do we want to stay in keeping with what we've done in other sections and say appropriate housing authorities?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that opens up to if a new housing authority is established somewhere,
Appropriate housing authority. Good, thank you.
So I'm changing that, I'm sorry.
from the Palaca Housing Authority to
Appropriate
appropriate housing authorities.
Yep.
Authorities. There
authority.
could be more than one.
All right, page 2, page 3, page 4.
On page 3,
I have-
policy G131, the county, through the County Planning and Development Services Department, shall review, coordinate the elements of its comprehensive plan with the plans and amendments of the county's municipalities. I think that that we need to put that, the county shall encourage through the County Planning and Development Services Department to review and coordinate the elements. Because otherwise it says we're gonna go and review the comp plans of every municipality in Putnam County, if I'm reading it right. So we need to encourage that, not
I'm
say
sorry.
we-
What I thought this
I'm
said
behind.
was
Where are you, sir? I'm sorry.
131.
E131, page 3. Are you trying to do emails during this or something?
No, he's trying to make,
I'm trying to make changes and save them, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
you need another cookie?
The way I read this, I thought this was saying that we would coordinate our comp plan with them and involve them in our comp planning.
Yeah, but I think what he's saying is the way it's worded makes it sound like we're gonna go out on a showboat and we're gonna go to each municipality and say, this is our comp plan, and review it with them, and then go to the next one and the next one, and even adjacent counties. I think if we change it to make available,
Yeah,
That's good.
I like that.
County shall make available through, yeah.
Yeah.
make available the elements of its comprehensive plan,
Make
with-
available through.
right? And then to the counties, municipalities, adjacent counties, and adjacent municipalities.
If you can help me, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to
The
catch up.
county-
It says the county.
I'm
through
sorry,
the-
you're on G1, 2?
P1.3.1.
Oh, okay, 3.1, I got you. Okay,
The county shall make available.
And then
And
delete,
then where it says shall in the second line, change shall to to.
got it.
The county shall make available through the Putnam County Department.
and get rid of review and
review.
coordinate the elements of.
Yeah, shall review and coordinate is gonna go.
Read the full sentence.
Get rid of what, Paul?
You want me to read it?
Read the full sentence, yeah.
The county shall make available through the County Planning and Development Services Department to,
Yeah.
make available, I gotcha. Shall make available through the County Planning and Development Services Department,
The comprehensive
the comprehensive plan,
plans and amendments of the county's municipality.
and then get rid of all the stuff until you get to comprehensive plan down there. Yeah, that's.
How about if it said this? The county shall make available to municipalities, adjacent municipalities, adjacent counties and and municipalities, the county
How
comprehensive plan through its planning and development services department.
how about this? The county shall make available its comprehensive plan
Yeah.
to adjacent,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Municipalities and all that.
Yeah. I
the
like
county shall make available, what did I just say?
I think I got
Its
it.
comprehensive plan to the counties, municipalities, adjacent counties, and adjacent municipalities, and get rid of all that other stuff.
Tell us how you really feel there, Commissioner.
I was just making sure it was heard.
You did good, thank you.
Susan Neal, is that okay?
I know we brought you
It's
this party. for
exactly
something.
opposite of what it originally said, but
Right.
I don't have a problem with it. But this does imply that every time there's an amendment to the comp plan, copies of those amendments must be distributed or should be distributed to adjacent counties and I would say municipalities within Putnam County, but,
By making available though, wouldn't that be keeping on our website? I mean,
Well, that
it's
could
up to them to pursue it. I don't think we have to send it to them.
Well, just like Mr. Brown said, when Mr. Troiano asked him to describe the process going forward, every time you amend your comprehensive plan, you have to send it to your adjacent local governments, and then a whole laundry list of state review agencies. So you're going to do this each and every time because you're required to by law.
so is this really necessary, Brian?
It's already there.
Make it available and makes all us happy.
I would, as wordsmith, I think I would leave it in
Leave
there.
it alone, okay?
Because I'd hate to have to go back and say, is this necessary because it's required by law? It's a statement of policy of the county, and maybe it's only a policy of the county because it's required by law, but I would just leave it in.
If I may, for Brian real quick, but now we have the responsibility too of reviewing municipalities' comp plans as they affect ours, and I think, are we taking that ability away here by striking that language?
I think we're required to do it anyways.
I don't think we're taking it away.
Because it once said the county, through the County Planning and Development Services Department, shall review and coordinate
No,
the
no, we're
elements.
getting rid of all that.
I'm sorry?
We're getting rid of all that.
I understand. I'm just saying, I'm just concerned that we're taking out our ability to review other municipalities.
No,
I
because
just
it
want to
says
confirm.
its. If you read it, it says the elements of its comprehensive plan. That's our comprehensive plan.
The way it was worded, I think what you're getting at is it made it sound like you guys would have to go and present to all the different municipalities and counties. So you'd have to do 20 presentations after we're done with this.
Okay.
So we're trying to make it so you don't have to do that.
Or we have to read,
Yeah, are we done with that, page 4?
if you, I think I see Jim's
Are we
point.
done with that? Can we move to page 4?
Wait, hold on a minute. If you read this, what they're saying is we need to review our plan against theirs and the impact that we may place on them. So that, we may need to let this language stand. I think this is something that protects them from us.
That's not how.
Yeah. I
Y'all
see what
review
you're-
everybody's comp plans and everybody's.
We do receive, like we received one from St. Johns County, a major comp plan change. Alachua County just asked us today to
Yeah, I
review
see
their,
what you're saying.
so that was my only concern. That's my question to Brian.
You know, I think Commissioner Rawls is right. I think we just leave that one alone.
Yeah, because I think it's covered in the objective, actually. So I think if you leave it alone, you're good, because you're then walking your plans both directions.
You all right with that?
All right, page 4, I have one down the bottom, G 1.61. Can we add fourth line down?
Sorry,
cooperation
I'm just
on
catching up to you now. Where are you, please?
Page 4, policy G, .1.6.1. We need to add charter schools into that. Okay? We've had some situations where they pop up in places we didn't expect. And I think we should review that.
Who does that
The
review?
charter schools or private schools?
Both.
I mean, because the charter schools really fall under the
Yeah, but it,
district in a way.
Probably have to do
they
both.
do, but they're, I just think we need to review, if we're gonna talk about public school, why don't we do private and charter schools also? Because we ran into that on a area close by, and, you know, we had to provide all kinds of stuff, so. Can
I
we,
see you're saying we had to provide resources because they existed.
they went to a place that
Gotcha.
probably wouldn't, I'm not saying it shouldn't be there, I'm just saying a little heads up would have been good for planning purposes. So do we want to say, after public school facilities, charter and private schools?
Or just say public school, charter school, and private school
Yes.
capital facilities.
We good with that? That's all I got.
I've got one
Well,
on,
I have
I got
one.
one on 4.
Well, hang on for 1 second, if I may, Mr. Chair. So I'm in G161. I'm halfway through the sentence where it says creation of public school capital facilities program. You're saying adding charter schools?
Charter and private,
So public, private, charter school capital
you go.
facility programs.
there you go.
Last line on the page.
Got it.
Okay, Commissioner Pickens has one?
Yeah, G144, so the Putnam County on an annual basis shall review its agreement to provide recreational facilities and maintenance thereof with the incorporated limits of Palaca, Crescent City, Interlochen, Pomona Park, and Willaca. I may show my ignorance, I know we have parks in Palaca, maybe Interlochen, but I don't know about Crescent City, Pomona Park, and Willaca. So I guess we could leave it in there, we could view
What
it,
if
but
we just took that and put all incorporated areas?
Ain't mine, I was hoping.
I thought it was
wasn't
mine, it's not mine.
not mine.
It's mine.
Somebody's vibrating.
Oh, okay.
I apologize.
What if we just put within all incorporated areas of the county? Because, you
Or
know, if, say, for instance, East Palaca decide to incorporate next month, or,
But we really don't do this.
Yeah, that's my point, and
Uh,
I actually have it marked here too, is we, says on an annual basis, we shall review the agreement to do
Yeah.
recreational facilities for the incorporated areas. We don't do that anyhow. I think you need to strike the whole policy.
That's fine with me, I just.
It kind of implies that we should be doing it, and I don't
We don't
want
have
to.
any facility in any of those, what about the Interlochen Community Center?
But
That's
it's not
part of-
in, well, that's in the town, but we don't, that's,
And isn't there a Pomona Park one or something?
what about Wisham? Is that not?
Wisham's
yeah,
out.
Wisham's in Interlochen.
But I don't know that you could call that a recreational facility,
It
the
falls
community
underneath.
center,
Got the
Parks
city,
and
the
Rec.
city dock in Crescent City.
just 'cause they oversee it doesn't
Okay,
mean it's a
but
recreational
We don't
facility.
currently do that.
Triangle Park is in the city of
We
Palaca.
don't.
I think you do. I think the county
Yeah, I
County
think we
owns
can
the
meet
the city dock in Crescent City.
You know, but we can't meet
Yeah, I
every
really-
municipality in the county.
I guess my point is, we
What's the
don't
intent of
review
this?
these with each
Right.
municipality.
How about we just say Putnam County shall stay up to date on its agreements, or shall maintain awareness of its agreements to provide recreational
I
facilities?
don't think we
Strike the
have,
whole policy.
Well, what is the intent, Brian, or Jim, what's,
we don't have a policy. We don't,
Well,
Don't observe it, but it's in here, so that's what I'm saying. If we're not doing it, we're not planning on doing it, then why is it in here? It needs to go.
do we have any agreements with any municipalities
Strike
to
it.
review?
Not that I'm aware of.
not that I'm aware of.
You've got the interlocals, but
Well, Mr. Suggs, no.
for recreation?
I say we strike the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Strike policy G144.
Done.
Okay, and then it's not implied, and no one can think we should be doing it. Anything else? Page 5. All right, moving on to capital improvements. We're doing really good, guys. Anybody on page 1? Page 2. Page 3. I have one on 3.
I'm still catching up. 1 second, please.
So here, this is where on capital improvements, maybe this is where we bring up the
Okay,
the
page,
golf cart trail.
we're at 3.
I'm there. Yes, sir.
Okay, I have one on policy H.3.1.2. Collect the fair share my mouth is tied up, exaction of those cases where new development will create the necessity that Putnam County construct new capital facilities or expanding. It sounds like we're having some type of impact fees here to me. That we're collect the fair share, whatever exactation is in those cases where the new development will create the necessity that Putnam County construct new capital facilities. And that sounds just like impact fees to me. But we don't do that right now.
If I may,
You may.
let's just say, for instance, we had a developer that wanted to go in East Palaca and build on, and tie into the existing force main. Then we would have to.
What?
Tie into the existing force main,
Okay,
or
Sewer.
expand the force main. Yeah, sewer, okay.
yeah,
Then we would exact
okay,
those fees from that developer,
okay.
because when they're gonna tie in at some
Gotcha.
point. Now, what happens on their property is their responsibility, obviously, as far as paving, grading, drainage, stormwater, sewer,
But they're talking about capital facilities,
Yep.
which would be.
water and sewer.
And we're gonna do that anyhow, because once, I mean, We need to have a general discussion for just a second.
You talk into the microphone.
We need to have a general discussion for just a second if possible.
Did you
Yeah.
like that? That was good. Yeah.
The general discussion needs to basically say that if a project is of a certain magnitude, it's gonna trip the DRI threshold, development of regional impact. And so a small subdivision, let's say for instance, you're gonna do a small development, 10 homes, that's not gonna trip any threshold where they need to build a library. But if it's a larger development or even in between, through the subdivision ordinance or regulations, you're gonna make them possibly give you a school site or a whatever as part of this deal, but those are already all built in the land development code. So what we're trying to do here is make sure that we try to move that direction. So I think by leaving it in here that we will collect a fair share exaction, I don't think that's a bad thing, because it's not fair share if you build 5 houses or 10 houses, it's not fair share to make them build a library. But if they put a Mariposa in, then yeah, they need to build a library, plus they need to build 4-lane roads going to their development, plus they need to do all these other things, yes. Maybe even a school property, like a lot of times in St. Johns County for one of your larger developments, they'll give them a school site, or they'll make them, do some of these things as part of the development. I think we need to continue down that road.
Well, that's a good point. I didn't see it that way. Thank you. Okay, page 4, page 5.
All the way to 7, need to add pickleball courts in there now that Mr. Adams Act took the whole chart out of the other one.
Okay, wait a minute, I got one on 6. And we go up to item
Just play it with you, pal.
F. Okay.
Okay, mandatory.
6,
okay.
yeah.
Mandatory connections to municipal or county-owned or investor-owned public sewage systems. Now, this is mandatory.
Yeah,
now
we
that's-
don't
we're
do
talking-
that either.
If they're available, they must tie up to them, Mr.
But
Chair.
we're not forcing them to do that right now.
We're not forcing them to do that in any of our stuff over there that we're putting in. We're getting water management grants, and we're
We're asking,
signing them
we're
up as we
encouraging.
go, yeah.
But isn't it only with the new construction?
Well, that's what I thought at first, but it doesn't say new construction.
Can we just add new construction and make it, because it is required for new construction?
I don't know that it is in East Black, is it?
Yeah,
The new sewer.
Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but anytime that there's public utilities available in under new construction, don't you have to tie into the facilities?
Yeah, and it's actually, state law requires
Right.
existing facilities too. Putnam County is not uncommon or not unlike other places that put in systems and try to fill of grants and stuff, because, sometimes it's difficult to make existing residents do that. So, yeah, I think if I know you're not doing it now, and so if we add in new, you're then doing what the law says you got to do, and really not talking about that other thing you're not doing.
So mandatory connections for new
Mandatory
construction.
Mandatory new connections.
For new construction, mandatory connections
For new construction.
for new construction.
So,
Mandatory connections for new construction. And then we're not going to talk about what we don't do.
Right.
Yeah,
But one day we need to
erase
talk
that,
about it.
erase that from the TV.
I'm sorry, but one day we do need to talk about that.
Right.
Well, I know, but if we do it this afternoon, this thing's gonna run to midnight.
No, we're not doing it this afternoon.
So I just need clarification as far as how I'm writing that sentence in F.
I think he said mandatory connections for new construction,
For new
and
construction.
then the rest of it's the same. So you're just inserting for new construction.
Now, let me ask you one other thing on that. Why are we forcing people on a investor-owned public sewage system? Explain.
The same reason, because we don't want them to have septic systems, is the theory.
Yeah,
And
a lot
because the infrastructure is
private.
there.
Okay.
If it's a private owned one,
And most of them, they have HO requirements, or some
Okay.
on the CCNRs require you to connect to it if that's private.
Okay. All right, page 7. We've got these same,
Add the pickleball,
The pickleball?
tennis courts or pickleball.
okay.
But why do we want to have these guidelines here?
I know, that's what I was, that's a big question mark for me.
Do we want to delete it after 500, just like we did on the prior one?
I think so. I think we scratch all that and leave it after 500.
I mean, this
Then
is
we're
an exact
consistent.
cut and paste of the prior.
So H.54.16 is the end of the,
And after
And
1
that
acre,
500 persons like we did with the last time this was
Right.
in there.
and then just forget about all that stuff. Jim, you got that?
1 second. I do, yes, sir. I've taken everything after 500 persons.
Okay, so we're done with page 7, page 8.
Did you
Okay.
want to change that level of service
We're gonna get rid of that level of,
on the rural multi-lane,
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
rural two-lane? Did you want
Oh,
to
yeah,
change the
you're-
level of service there from,
Oh,
It
yeah,
already is
D.
all D here.
Yeah, to be consistent with
Yeah, on the
what's in the
next
other
page
chapter.
over though, at C, we need to go to D.
yeah, we need to go to D.
D on everything,
So we got 2 Cs, so
top of 8.
rural multi-lane will be D,
Okay,
and rural two-lane will be D.
thank you. I already know what that means, to be honest.
How many, cars you can have on the road before they basically turn off permits, concurrence? How many trips a day on a car?
Okay.
And
Level service and level of, C or
it
D.
does happen.
Oh, yeah.
It does happen. Okay.
Downtown Plaque on Reed Street's getting there.
Okay, anything on 8? Anything on 9, 10? I think these are just tables, so 11, good. Moving on, goals, objectives of the economic development. And you know what? We're going to take a 5-minute break.
Thank you.
We can get through this. We're really close. Yeah, this is the economic development element.
Element.
Sorry about that. Page 1,
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
you may.
On the data, and
Okay, we'll get to that.
Oh,
Can we-
okay.
Can we get to this first?
yeah,
Okay.
I got nothing.
Save your pencil for the data.
Okay.
Okay, anything on page 1? Page 2?
Yeah, under policy I 1.3.4, we say current programs and incentives. Again, it kind of goes in the last part of it that you've added. Could we say available instead of current? Because what's current can change over the 15 years.
I'm not following you where you're at.
Current to available right there.
On 1.3.4,
Yeah,
Oh, I see it, okay. To available.
Says current programs, say available programs and incentives.
because those can always change.
I'm going to take out current and add available.
Thank you.
Okay, page 3. Page 4.
On
I had another one here somewhere.
1215,
I had that one.
when it talks about the designated economic development encouraging cluster major commercial industrial activities that are close to, and it has access water, sewage,
Oh, wait.
water, sewage, electricity, telephone. Should we put internet or
Page 4.
page 4, policy 1215?
I think you just get rid of the descriptors like we did prior and just say utilities.
Okay, doesn't matter to me. I just,
Yeah, I think you're right.
none of this other exists without internet.
Yeah, especially nowadays.
So we're getting rid of, on B, just have access to utilities? Is that what we're
Yeah.
talking about?
Right. And just use the word utilities and that cover.
Or allow for the provision of these utilities. So we're just taking out the examples?
So yeah, or say of appropriate utilities, because it may not be the same in every location. Like some locations you wouldn't need gas.
So have access to appropriate utilities.
His question is, are we leaving the last part? I would think it would be. So it'd read, have access to utilities or allow for provision of these
Yes.
utilities.
I agree.
So it's going to read, have access to appropriate utilities, and then we're going to strike out the examples,
Yeah,
and then leave or allow for the provision of these utilities?
sure.
I had one on the bottom, policy 1.2.2.5.
Mr. Chair, can I just go back to that
Never
for 1
mind, I've
second?
already answered
When we
that.
say appropriate, could we look at necessity or required?
Necessary might be a better word.
Necessary.
who makes that determination?
The business owner would, wouldn't they?
No, it would probably be in the subdivision ordinance itself. I mean, and the land code.
So maybe we change it to available utilities instead of appropriate.
Well, but that's saying
Yeah,
if it's
yeah.
not available,
Right,
you
right.
don't have to put it
Yeah,
there,
that
but you
defeats the
can't
point
have
of
a
it.
large-scale, development without utilities. I mean, so I think that the densities are gonna be,
They're going to drive that train, aren't they?
from the land code.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna tell you, other than your maximum,
Don't want us
which
to
we're putting
be
in
stuck
here, the
and
rest
not
of it's
have the
gonna
ability
be,
to move forward.
Subdivision or your, land development code.
Mr. Teeple, you had something?
I appreciate the discussion, but this is a permissive policy, it's an encouragement. So therefore, I think this helps you define the ditches, but it's not an absolute.
Okay.
So I think appropriate or available, anything you'd like to use there is fine.
Okay.
So we'll keep appropriate?
And because we're just encouraging it, yeah, appropriate utilities, yeah.
All right.
The rest of it's good.
Now we're going to go to page 5.
So under policy I 2.3.1, vigorously pursue state and federal grant funds. I think we should add in private grant funds, because there have been some that have come up recently where there's, whether it's Walmart or different private entities that can get us funds as well for,
State, federal, and private grant funds,
yeah.
I'm good with that.
I'm good.
Okay, I have one on Are you done, Mr. Adams?
With that page, yes, sir.
Okay, I have one on 1.2.5, where it says the county will support the development and expansion of minority-owned. Can we put veterans also? Would that be something that we could put there?
Veteran and or minority owned and slash
Why
or.
don't, how about if we do this, if we put, designated small business entities that are, that meet federal, well, because, you know, you've got hub zone, and the entire county is a hub zone, which is your historically underutilized business zone. And then you've got veteran and service disabled, small minority-owned. You also have women-owned, disadvantaged business entities, DBEs.
So you just want to lump them all together?
Well, there's, I don't think I've ever heard anybody describe all of them under one acronym, but, yeah, I think if you're going to do that, you really need to have DBE, which is your disadvantaged business entity, hub zone, veteran-owned. And help me out here, Brian, is there any other ones that I'm missing?
Of the alphabet, no, I'm not aware of any.
I mean, how do you put that? Is there an easy way to put that?
No. The problem is that just like you discovered now, so first thing that came out was veterans.
Right.
Perfectly fine, I have no problem with any of that. You start listing the various groups.
Yep.
You then inevitably run into, we forgot one.
Right.
or-
Right.
So I'm not exactly sure how to approach that.
There's WMBE, which is women minority-owned business.
So why don't we say veteran, minority, and disabled owned businesses?
There you go.
And any other federally recognized,
that's-
state or federal recognized.
No.
Because I'll be honest with you, my company is a state recognized by
Yeah,
FDOT
but-
as a woman and minority-owned business because I'm a service disabled veteran, and there is no state.
But what if we have,
Recognition.
what if you have some off-the-wall one that comes from the federal government that protects leprechauns or
Think
whatever?
it's not gonna happen?
Federally recognized.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Let's
No,
take care of the ones
I just,
wanna
when I
take-
read that, I just, you know, I've been to enough of these meetings where I'm afraid we're gonna
I
leave
don't want to
somebody
just
out.
say any other federal.
We were just discussing, so it could be state and federally recognized. So whether you're recognized through the state of Florida or through the federal government, that would cover that.
Okay, I can live with it.
change it. The county will encourage support for development and expansion of minority-owned business and industry.
And now we're going to make it federally recognized. Now, the next one, policy 1.2.5.1, we're saying that the county's purchasing policies provide equal access. I think we can just stop right there after equal access. I don't think we need to identify
Right.
local minority and all that. Let's just equal access. Is that okay?
I agree.
Okay, period after equal access.
Yep, and that covers everybody.
So can I go back up to what we just did in 1.2.5? I wrote in there, the county will support the development and expansion of state and federally recognized businesses and industry. That's how it would read? You're good with that? Okay.
And then on the next one,
Hang on, wait, state and federal recognized
federal,
small business
Entities.
and, see, there's small business classifications.
Could be all business, it could be,
small
as we
and-
have business and industry, so it would cover,
Right.
we're not
But-
discriminating.
I think the intent here is we're trying to say that we're going to allow focus on certain specific
So leave in,
small business groups.
do veterans, minority, and other state and federally recognized owned businesses. And that catches the others. And that way, if they expand the recognitions, it covers that as well.
And then on the next
No,
page.
sir, I just need the direction, so it's going to be
Read-
an expansion of veteran,
No, Paul's got it right here.
Yeah,
Commissioner
veteran
Hamzat.
and minority,
Hang on one second, UT.
veteran, comma, minority, and other state and federally recognized.
I got it.
Small business entities.
I didn't use the word small, though. Is that what you
Yeah,
want?
Well, I
because
don't think we knew.
the federal government, under the small business entities, they focus, and in my classification, it's like up to $40 million and 500 employees is small business. So it's not what you would consider small, but the federal government would never look at Walmart as a small business. So this would have nothing to do with them.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any issue. And
No, if you want it, I just need to know where you want the small added. I'm sorry, I just didn't hear where you wanted it.
And then the next one, policy, on page 6, 1.2.5.2, we need to add the same language in that also, behind minority owned.
I'm sorry, one more time. On page
One,
6?
policy I.2.5.2, where it says representatives shall encourage minority owned, and then let's spell out the rest of that too.
Yeah.
Use the same verbiage there.
Got it.
And that's all I got.
I have on that same page 6, 1.I.3.1, when we go through the listing of Putnam County fostering partnerships among all these different institutes, I think we need to have comma not-for-profits. I think his phone's causing that.
Nonprofits on there?
Yeah, after trade associations, not-for-profits,
After what?
trade, well, wherever you want to put it, a comma and not-for-profits. somewhere
Okay.
in there. I.3.1. I left it on the whole time for you.
And then where exactly in that?
Any of the commas, it could be anywhere in there.
So, I'm sorry, I was just trying to finish
So
up
you have the
something.
list of all the different, among educational institutions, financial institution, government, counties designated economic development representatives, utility service providers, business organizations, trade associations, comma, not-for-profits,
I got you.
Yeah.
and others to enhance development of positive business, living in a working climate. And one that comes to mind, just because we keep talking about cleaning up the county, is keep Putnam beautiful, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Chair, I've caught it.
Okay, anything else on 6? Page 7?
That was all I had.
Okay. Good deal. That takes care of all of the elements. And Commissioner Rawls, you had some questions on, now we've already done the maps. So let's talk about I'm sorry.
Economic development,
No, you want
data.
You want to talk about the
Data.
data?
Yeah.
Yeah. What page are you going to be on?
I got this tabbed out, so I gotta find it.
Guys, I want to really congratulate. We did
Now
a
does
pretty good job today.
Well, he's looking for what page, the data just gets added to the packet, correct?
Right. Yeah, that's, when does the upcoming,
They asked us, Mr. Chairman.
yes, you may.
They asked us at the first of this meeting not to pass the data, they wanted us to pass the goals, objections, and policies as received from the planning commission and amended today.
Okay.
So they asked us not to pass the data.
So here's my issue. When reading through the data, there's some inconsistencies and inaccuracies. How do we address that?
Let me know what they are.
All right, so on page
Well,
7.
and you don't necessarily need to do it at this meeting. If you've got,
But, well, what I would like to pull out of this is,
Are you in the housing element?
yes,
Okay.
on page 7, but,
okay, I'm sorry.
so, at the bottom of the page, it says, the largest of these is Holly Ridge Manor with 120 beds. And it's talking about ALFs. But Holly Ridge, is not an ALF. And then it goes on, it talks about Putnam County's elderly and ALF facilities have a total bed capacity of 131, with Lakeview Grove, Cherry Tree 2, both having 36 beds. Cherry Tree 2, to my understanding, is an apartment community. It's phase 2 of Cherry Tree, isn't it?
Well, I believe if I understood Brian correctly, he said that any data flaws that you find, if you would give them to him, he would plug them in, because that's not what we're passing today.
Right.
We're passing the goals, objectives and policies. So any data that you find to be incorrect, or you want to have a discussion with him, I think he's open for that discussion. So all you need to do is place a phone call and have a discussion. I think this one's wrong. Can you look at it, or whatever the case may be? So we're not gonna pass the data today. They asked us not to.
Are we gonna look at the data later?
Look, you can look at it along
No,
with.
are we, this is
When the
gonna be
whole
published
packet-
as a total.
Yeah, I'm
comp
going to
plan.
ask that question right now. Jim, let me ask you this. We're going to, now that we're done with all the elements
Yes,
of
sir.
future land and the map, and this is going to go back to the planning commission or no?
No, sir.
Okay, so it's going to be cleaned up,
Yes,
and then you're going to present us a clean copy
correct?
of the new goals, objectives, and all that, along with the new, any corrections on the data that needs to be done, right?
Yes, sir.
And then that'll come back to us at that.
For a
point.
transmittal hearing, your first hearing.
And how many hearings do we
Two.
have? Two. So we'll have two options. So Commissioner Rawls, I would say this, contact Brian, tell him, Mr. Teeple, I'm sorry, tell him the issues you're having. He'll clean that up. That'll come back to us. We'll look at it as a group. We'll have a hearing on it. Then we'll have another hearing. If something didn't get changed right, we can clean it up then, go to our second hearing, then we pass it, then we put it out for transmittal at that point. Is that right?
Yeah, really, the data and analysis, you know, frankly, you're not adopting it. So if there are changes to the data analysis that you want to see, one, you can do it right up to the adoption hearing.
Right.
Because you're not adopting it. You know, that's the last time you're going to look at it. Or frankly, you can bring it up anytime thereafter and say, we want to, you know, change it or fix it.
When do you see this being, when do you see this ready for the final reading? Because I'd like for our census data to come in, and that might be here in April, from what I'm understanding. So you don't see us anytime before April or May putting this out for transmittal, do you?
You guys can be in a position to train, when is your next county commission meeting?
This coming Tuesday, the
Oh,
9th?
probably not then.
We haven't had it advertised.
Right, we have to advertise, but, you know, frankly, Jim has made changes as we've gone along. He'll share those with me. I'll also look at them compared to my notes. But we'll be ready in a matter of days, frankly, to give you the final goals, objectives, and policies as we heard them today
Okay.
for your consideration at your earliest convenience, given advertising requirements, to transmit.
March 23rd.
Yeah,
Okay, Mr. Turner.
Mr. Chairman, I think today that we need to go ahead and, by motion, vote to send it to the Board of County Commissioners for the first hearing at the next at the next meeting date.
The 23rd.
The 23rd, is that when it is? And then at that time, and we'll do it with the Planning Commission's recommendations as amended today, that we will, and that'll still give us a shot if we have a goal, an objection, or a policy that we'd like to change between now and then, it'll still give us a goal to do it at that meeting.
Is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a proper motion to move this ahead to the March 23rd meeting? Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a proper second by Commissioner Pickens. Any further discussion?
Under questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Yes,
Is-
Mr. Rawls.
We're only talking about the elements themselves, not the backup data, correct?
Exactly.
Goals, objections, and policies.
Yep, okay.
Just,
So-
Mr. Adams, that?
When would we have the updates? You get them to us? as
We
soon-
could have them
Probably, we'll have them a week before the commission meeting, no doubt, but
for Wednesday, so we could be at first of the week next week
Yeah.
and have them,
Okay.
not an issue.
all right.
Yeah.
You're talking
That's
about the
safe.
ones we did today.
Yeah.
Oh, right, I'm finished with those.
Already done,
I just want to
got
make sure
those.
that,
All right.
Mr. Chair, as long as Brian agrees and our notes compare,
Sure.
we'll move forward and we'll have
Yeah,
something completed by next
Don't
week.
rush it. Let's make sure we send out, well, y'all need to collaborate at that point.
There is a little bit of a rush, Mr. Chairman. The meat and potatoes of what we're trying to accomplish through this process is redoing the land development code. we can't do that. I mean, nobody had ever thought it would've took a year and a half to redo the comp plan. But because of COVID and the different issues and whatever, it's taken a lot longer. I'd just as soon, as quickly as possible, be able to move into and as quickly as we could get somebody to do it now that Mr. Brown's gone. And I know y'all got somebody, but they can't just walk in and take over in an hour. Get the land development code started.
Well, actually,
That's where
if
the
I may,
meeting's
Mr.
made.
Chair, we're in the process of finalizing our RFP for the land development code. We would hope by June, July of this year, it'd be going out for bid. And our hope is that we would finish the land development code by September 2022.
The motion on the floor right now is to move it to the 23rd meeting. You're going to get that information to us prior to that, as soon as possible on that. So, Commissioners, since there's no further comment, we're going to take a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. We'll see it then at that point.
One question.
Yes, sir.
You just made the comment that your RFP for the land development code is gonna go out.
Well, we're still working with Ms. Young now on the
Okay, well,
meat and
last
potatoes of it.
year, and I know that it may have changed, but last year we were gonna do the LDC in the house. Mike Brown was gonna do it. We don't have Mike here now, but he was making a list of changes that we wanted to make, and he was gonna try to do the LDCs in house. So now our plan is to send it out of house too?
It is. My direction, since we have money in the budget, was to go out to a competent, certified company or person to come back and help us with it. We've identified meetings that would be a requirement, much like we did with the Planning Commission, as well as looking at staff notes, and those would be incorporated into that. So Mr. Brown is assembling or compiling his notes for us to use for that.
He said he would, yeah.
And he's given me some already.
Mr. Adams, that?
Do we know about what that costs to?
I think budget-wise, please don't hold me to it, I think we're at the 140 mark is what we have in our budget.
So wouldn't we have to approve that as a board?
You did already. It's in the budget for,
Oh, okay. Prior budget before I was here.
The
All right.
expenditure will still have to be approved though if it's over $65,000.
it will. That's
even
correct.
though
It has
it's
to
in
come back to the
budget.
board
Right.
with the
Julianne's
the
shaking
vendor
her
that
head
we
over there.
choose.
Yeah. We got it. Thank you, Julianne. Okay, any other public comment that we want to do? Public comment or citizens input?
I would just
have,
like to say thank you.
Do what?
I would like to say thank you. I appreciate your review today, and I really appreciate your discussion and all of your input.
Thank you. Commissioners, I have one thing. Tomorrow, meeting has been canceled. We've had a little issue with the agenda, so we're going to reschedule that if it's okay with everybody. And we'll get back to you on the commissioner priority meeting. Is there anything else that's good for the order? Commissioner, any other commissioner comments? County attorney, county administrator? Hearing none, this meeting's adjourned.